Welcome into the Vestavia Hills City Schools podcast. I'm Whit McGee.
And I'm Brooke Wedgeworth.
And spring has sprung. Brooke, it's March. Spring break is right around the corner. Hope things have been going well for you the last few weeks.
Yes, it has been a busy March. We've had so much going on with teacher leaders, Hope Diversity Day. So lots of professional learning going on. What have you been up to, Whit?
You know, we need to bring the teacher leader folks on for a podcast in the future. That would be so much fun.
We do.
Just to talk about the cool things that y'all do with teachers in our school system to make them even more equipped to lead where they are in the school system. It's a lot of fun. So I've been a part of the Hope Institute stuff as well. That has been fantastic. Some of those professional development sessions that they're doing at Samford University to instill great character and core values in our schools. And I feel like our schools do that so well. But as a district level employee, fantastic to get to go through that. It's been really, really fun. Spring break plans for you, Brooke?
Yes, nothing major, probably lots of relaxing and hopefully a few days away at the farm. That's about it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Are y'all going anywhere?
Nope.
I know. That's the best spring break. That is the best spring break.
Lots of yard work that week for me, trying to spruce things up. We have Melissa McIntyre and Kira Aaron here with us today. So same question to both of you. What's your spring break looking like?
I have no plans. Sounds exciting.
It is.
I was hoping to be moving, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So
that's awesome. I'm wishing that I had no plans like Melissa and we are planning to take our kids to New Orleans, Baton Rouge, do a little historical sightseeing, go to the World War II museum, see some family.
That's a lot of fun. And I feel like New Orleans is good this time of year. It's not too hot yet. You get to see, and the World War II Museum is fabulous. And I just saw, actually, I've got some family down there. Last time we were down there a few months ago, it looked like they were expanding, like adding another city block on it.
I saw that they've just opened a new building. So it's completing the whole World War II experience.
It's amazing. It's really good. Well, both of you are our district teachers of the year, and that's why we're so excited to have you on. Melissa is at Vestavia Hills Elementary Liberty Park. Kira is at Vestavia Hills High School freshman campus. And so, Brooke, we are just thrilled to have both of these fantastic educators and leaders in your schools on with us today.
That's right. And this is probably one of my favorite episodes that we do every year. So we have our elementary and secondary teachers of the year on, and it really is a joy to spend time with our teachers and hearing a little bit from them. So we're going to start. Melissa, we'll start with you, but just maybe tell our listeners a little bit about where you're from, maybe even your history in education getting to this point, and then what inspired you to become a teacher?
So I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. My dad was an aerospace engineer, and my mom stayed home with my brother and I until my brother really got into elementary school, and then she went to work in the school as a paraprofessional. And so I guess with her, education was kind of there. But my dad was the musician of the family. And so my parents always encouraged me to find my thing. And finally, I found piano lessons when I was 8 and just really loved to sing and was in the choir at school. And then in 6th grade, I joined the choir at my middle school. And my teacher at my middle school, her name was Sherry Smith, was just my absolute inspiration. I adored her. She was fun and energetic, and she let me play piano. I even got to go as a 6th grader, which was a very big deal, by the way, to go on the 7th and 8th grade choir trip. I got to go as the accompanist. So we went to Washington, D.C., so that was a pretty big deal. And then I just stayed in choir and even joined band my junior and senior year because they needed a xylophone player and I could play piano. So they thought I could play xylophone too. So I did that and then went on to become a music ed major at the University of Montevallo and got my bachelor's and master's degree there. And I've been teaching for 28 years. So, yeah.
Yes, and I guess I should point out that Melissa is the music teacher
I am.
at the elementary school. So
Yes.
that's an important part of the story for sure. So, Kira, what about you? Tell us a little bit about how you got into education, maybe what inspired you and your history in education.
I come from a family of educators. My parents are teachers, and from the time I was a very little girl, even my kindergarten year, I taught my sisters, I taught my stuffed animals, I taught anybody who would listen or who wouldn't get up from the desk. So I always knew that I was going to be a teacher. And I love to read. I love to write. I love literature and the really fun conversations that we get to have about literature in an English classroom. So it was kind of always going to be that for me. So I went to Auburn after high school and majored in secondary English ed, then went to Troy to get my master's. That's where my husband worked at the time at Troy University. Ended up in Vestavia several years later. I do love to learn. So I participated in the teacher leader cohort, which reminded me how much I love to learn with other people. And I decided to go back and get another degree from the University of Alabama. And now I'm at Auburn.
So you've got a degree from Alabama. What was that degree in?
Ed specialist.
Okay.
Which is kind of a sixth year degree for education people.
Sure. And then you're now enrolled at Auburn University, right?
Yes.
What's that degree?
PhD.
Very
in
good.
ed leadership.
How long do you have to go on that?
Well, I just started in January, so I have 3 years ish, or whenever I finish writing.
It'll go by so fast.
That's right. Well, congratulations to both of you for being named your Teachers of the Year for your school and for the district as well. I mean, this is just tremendous. I'm curious to know for both of you, how long have you been at your current school? So, Melissa, you said 23 years?
I've been teaching for 28 years.
28
I have been at Liberty Park. This is my 7th year at Liberty Park.
And Kira, what about you? How you've now I think we should provide as a disclaimer, you've been at the freshman campus since it opened.
I have,
which
yes.
was in 2020?
In 2020.
I get those years. So, 2020, things got a little blurry in there.
Not like anything else was happening that year.
Right. But prior to that, you were at Vestavia Hills High School main campus when 9th grade was still there.
Correct. So I started there in January of 2016. I had taught for several years before my family moved to Vestavia, took a couple of years off to stay at home with my little bitty children. And then in January of 16, an English teacher retired and I taught 11th grade English.
And so now teaching English Lit there at the freshman campus. And so I'm curious to know from both of you, what do you love about your school?
I mean, I think that my school is probably one of the happiest places. Like when I walk down the hallway, the kids seem happy. They're happy to see each other. They're happy to see us. My colleagues seem happy to see each other and happy to see the kids. And we're excited to learn and excited to play and just have fun. And I think that, one of the things I love is I like the people I work with a lot. Like, I like hanging out with them in school and out of school. The kids are just funny. And so, there's always a smile or a hug or a how's it going or a hi, Miss McIntyre or something when you walk down the hallway.
I love being at the freshman campus because it is a smaller version of the great big high school. It's 1 year when all the kids in the 1 grade get to see each other's faces. They get to know these are my people. The 2 middle schools come together and they really cultivate community. I think our administration does a really good job of developing a sense of unity and school spirit, but really teaching our kids character by the high school level, which often doesn't happen. A lot of times we leave that to the elementary teachers. I think that our faculty really believes that learning isn't optional, and we've embraced the community learning at the faculty level as well. We make each other better, and I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think both of your schools do that really well. And Brooke, I know you can speak to this too, but spending time in these schools, just the sense of community that they try to cultivate in the school really helps to boost the culture and the climate of the whole place for everybody.
It does, and it goes back to what Melissa said. It makes it a happy place and a place that you want to be. And I think, and they do, our schools do a good job of that. And it's not just the social piece, but it's also learning with your faculty members and kind of being all in on that I think makes a difference in the climate as well. So for both of you, and y'all can start, whoever wants to start, but what was your reaction when you found out that you were named Teacher of the Year at your school and then for the district?
When we found out that I was Teacher of the Year at the school, that day is really actually very embarrassing because I, for some reason, when I'm shocked and embarrassed, turn into Minnie Mouse. And so we had gathered for a faculty meeting, and I will admit that I was not real excited about going to the faculty meeting. And we got in there, and our principal, Tiffany Marin, had gotten up there, and she said that she was going to announce the Teacher of the Year. And of course, they don't just say it, they have to tell you all the things that people said about you and all of these kinds of things. And I'm just sitting there, I don't know, with kind of a dumb look on my face. Like I was like, oh, they're not talking about me, we're just sitting here. And then all of a sudden, they announced my name, and my husband walked in. And then it's just everybody's looking at you. And so then you don't really know what to do. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, guys, are y'all serious? I watched the video and thought, oh, my stars, that was really embarrassing. But anyway, such a huge honor. I mean, to be recognized and to know that my peers had all of those wonderful things to say about me is very humbling, I guess. Yeah. And then, of course, the District of the Year one was also kind of an interesting situation because I was asked to hold a class. I think they wanted students in my room at the time. And so they came over the intercom and asked to hold a class. And I'm like, sure. So we just kind of, did our lesson a little slower than normal. And by, hold a few minutes, I thought, 2 or 3 minutes and we'll be on our way. And so we cleaned up. And then I think it was right before Thanksgiving. So we had a conversation about what we were going to all do for Thanksgiving. And then we're still sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, so I text our secretary and I'm like, how long is a few minutes? 'Cause in my brain, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what other bag of tricks can I pull out for these fifth graders in my classroom right now? And so I can't remember what we were about to learn, maybe about the blues, I think, or something. And I was thinking towards my next lesson. And I'm like, oh, our online curriculum is called Quaver. And I thought, oh, there's a 13-minute video on Quaver about the blues, and I'm going to stick that in, and that gives me 13 minutes to figure out what I'm going to do next. Popped in that video, and the first person to walk in the door is the superintendent. And I think, great. I just got busted showing a video in my classroom. But anyway, it was also very cool experience to see everybody come in there and again to think, wow, I guess I do okay.
I would echo Melissa's sentiments. It is truly an honor and completely humbling. So the day that I was announced the School Teacher of the Year, Mr. Mann and Miss Brown came into my classroom, and they pop into the room all the time. So that was no big deal. I just kept bebopping around, doing my thing. And Mr. Mann said, "Excuse me, Miss Erin, could we have a second?" And that kind of caught me off guard. That's not the normal thing. So when he said, "You've been announced or you've been selected as our Teacher of the Year," it was completely humbling. Such an honor that my peers and my administrators would think enough of me as a teacher. And then the day that the district secondary teacher of the year was announced, that was in my third period class. A whole passel of people came in. And I anticipated that the announcement was coming that day, but I really, I just knew it was going to be one of the other teachers. They're such really, truly amazing teachers in this district. And so it was a complete shock that it was me. I'm not sure I'm over it yet.
Well, both of you are really deserving, really deserving. And I think one of the things that makes you deserving is the work that you put into making your classrooms a welcoming place, an inviting place for students, where you're going to get really engaging material, but you're also going to feel loved and like this is your place when you walk in there. I would love for both of you to share just your thoughts on that, the intentional work that you do to make your classrooms an inviting place for your students.
We all know that we don't learn from somebody we don't trust. And if we don't have a relationship, then learning, it won't happen. So the relationship has to come first. And as I said before, I think that our school does a really good job of cultivating relationships on the bigger scale. But we have to do that in our classrooms too, especially in the humanities, where so much of our learning really takes place around in conversations around potentially sensitive topics that require thought and growth, and opportunities for kids to change their minds, to say, hey, I was wrong about something. And if we don't have a safe environment for that to happen, kids won't take risks, and they don't grow as humans or as students, as learners. And so to make that happen, I have to keep learning, and I have to make sure that I'm engaged with my kids on a personal level every day.
I think that it's a really cool thing that I get to be the music teacher for every kid in the school. I get to teach kindergartners from the very first day that they walk into our school to the fifth graders on their very last day. And that is not lost on me, because I get that privilege of watching them grow up, not just physically, but emotionally, and of course, academically, socially. I get to watch them, grow and mature and become these really cool people. And I want my classroom to be somewhere that when ultimately they look back on their elementary music experience, I want them to go, oh, do you remember that really fun game? Or do you remember that program that we were in? Or do you remember that field trip to the symphony? Or do you remember that silly song that we sang? And I want those to be fond memories for them, because when those memories are fond and those memories are core, then I have created an advocate for the arts. And those kids then will take that advocacy to their children. And that's how, the arts remain an important part of our culture. So by fostering those relationships from kindergarten through fifth grade, by being that person who is the constant for them when their friends change and when their teachers change and when their classroom changes, by being one of those people that they always know when they walk in the door. I think that that's a really important part of my classroom atmosphere.
Something I'm just noticing here as you were both talking is, Melissa, you get to see these students for 6 years. Mm-hmm. Kira, you get to see them for 1.
I do.
But for both of you, the common thread is relationships. And you're both very, very committed to that.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think, too, this is something I was thinking about even as Melissa was talking, is for music, like for some students, that's their place.
Right.
So we think about every kid kind of finds their place or something that's interesting or a place where they feel like is safe or they can excel. And for many kids, music may be that place. So that's a great but it's also a great start for them, because what you're instilling is something that's probably going to continue for many of them on through middle school, high school, and possibly even, as a career. So, and one thing I want to add, Whit, because obviously both of them are amazing teachers, but not only are they, concerned about their classrooms or what happens in their rooms or, their own development, but I can personally say, because both of them have been in our teacher leaders cohort, even aside from that, they really are involved and go above and beyond in the development of others and their colleagues. And so that's one thing I would love to highlight is they're not just great teachers, but they're great leaders. And so I know Kira has been very involved with leading professional learning at her campus through some book studies. So I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on that. And Melissa is involved with many music organizations, I think even leads one of them. and which is, huge, because she's having an impact as a leader across the state for other music educators. So I would love for both of them just to touch on what they've done in those leadership roles. I know they're not going to brag about themselves, but I really think that's important because they are so humble, they won't talk about it, but for them to share what they've done with that, because I've seen the impact on that side as well.
Yeah.
So I have the privilege of leading the faculty book club at the freshman campus, and we have done a couple of the system-wide book studies. We studied Think Again by Adam Grant, and then we studied The Power of Moments, both of which were really thought-provoking and could certainly be applied to us as teachers and in our classrooms to our students. And so it was really fun to talk through those books. We try to mix up the genres of the books that we read. So each month we pick something different. This month we're doing a contemporary fiction work. Last month we read nonfiction, Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point. And then before that we did a little psychological thriller for fun. And that's always a neat little group of people. It's always a little bit different whoever decides to participate. We eat some snacks because everybody's happier when food's on the table, right? And we talk about some good books. And I've also had the privilege of working with our first-year teachers this year. And so we get together once a month and have a little micro community in our school. So all 7 new teachers get together and they can have a safe place to ask questions and put together a Christmas skit for the holiday breakfast. And it's a good time.
I'm curious to know, do you have like an annual book reading goal that you set for yourself?
Oh, I don't. There's an arbitrary number on Goodreads, but I just read a lot.
If you ever want a good book recommendation, ask Kira. She reads more in a month than I probably read in a few years.
I am a member of the Alabama Music Educators Association, and I have served in leadership positions in that organization for years. I've served as the secretary a couple of years, but most recently I've served as the festival director, which is the person who puts together a big state elementary music festival. We have typically had it in Hoover, and students from all over the state come. We get clinicians to come and work with the children, and we provide them lunch and snack and dinner, and all the logistics that goes into putting 250 plus children into 2 choirs and doing a rehearsal and a performance. So that is actually really fun for me. I love that position. So that is my recent thing that I have done.
Well, thank you both so much for your leadership in the schools and just in the community of learners in our state. It's a wonderful thing. So for folks who don't know, the Teacher of the Year process, this is not just something that we do for fun in Vestavia, like, you get a designated parking spot or something like your employee of the month. This is actually part of a national program that could ultimately lead to one of you being named National Teacher of the Year or Alabama Teacher of the Year. So you're both very humble people. But I would love to know, if you are named Alabama Teacher of the Year, what would you want to use that platform for, to highlight or to emphasize? Because the State Teacher of the Year, we did have one a few years ago, Jennifer Brown, who's assistant principal at Freshman Campus with you, Kira. You get the opportunity to travel around the state and to talk with educators and educational leaders all over the state of Alabama, and you do get to use that as a platform to build support for education. What would be the thing that you'd want to spend your time emphasizing?
I mean, ultimately, I think that mine would probably be arts advocacy. I mean, being a music teacher, I feel like that's my strongest platform that I can speak to. I would love to also, not only emphasize the importance of arts for our children, but I would love to emphasize the importance of arts for the teachers too, and just as a collaborative tool. One of my things that I am really into right now is integrating arts with the classroom at the classroom level. I think it's important in our schools, and unfortunately, I think that when money gets tight, the arts is the first thing to go. I think that is quite a shame a lot of times for our schools, because there's not only so much value in, just like what you were talking about, Brooke, where there's, kids that's their thing, whether it's music or art or dance or theater. But also, it's such an important part of our culture and our history, and it's also can tie into so many things so that you can reach those kids that maybe they really hate math, but you can make fractions fun by doing it with music, or, they're not really that great at reading, but you can help them through fun music activities or art activities or theater, or, one of those things. And I would love to see communities come together and understand the importance of the arts in our schools, and to highlight them in terms of, hey, let's make sure that our kids have this stuff.
So we all know that there is a teacher shortage in Alabama, in the nation, and we know that not only are we having a hard time recruiting new teachers, but teachers are leaving the field in droves. And so I think that my focus, if the long shot thing happens and I were chosen as the Alabama Teacher of the Year, would have to be building relationships that support teachers so that teachers don't feel the need to leave, so that teachers feel valued where they are and want to stay. People say the number one cited reason that people say that they're leaving the field is because of pay. But all the other research shows that that's just the thing that people are comfortable saying, that people don't feel like they're paid adequately for the amount of work that they're doing or for the types of work that they're doing. And really, it's the other things that they're not being supported in. And because I have had the great blessing of having really supportive administration and really supportive teams of teachers around me. I know how meaningful that is. And so if we are intentional in building relationships in our classrooms as teachers, I just think that it's absolutely imperative that we also cultivate meaningful relationships with the other teachers in our buildings.
That's good. I'm reminded of a quote that we've talked about here at our central office a number of times over the years from Peter Drucker, who's a leadership guru who coined the phrase "culture eats strategy for breakfast." Right? The idea that you can have all of the best mission statement and the best strategic plan and best goals, and hey, the paycheck can be really good, but if the culture isn't there, then that other stuff really isn't going to get accomplished. It's gonna lead to a lot of difficulties. So that's a good word, and I can tell both of you are really focused on relationship building in everything you do. Thank you so much for that, Melissa McIntyre, Kara Aaron. Congratulations again to both of you. Thank you for joining us, and best of luck. I think both of you would be great as Alabama Teacher of the Year.
Yes.
And thank you for listening as well. We look forward to talking to you again soon.